Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the surprising reactions of dangerous gang leaders when faced with life sentences. In a world where power and influence can shift in the blink of an eye with just one court decision, will these gang leaders accept their fate, or will they try to fight the law once again? Behind the dark veils of the underworld, these individuals still harbor secrets, hidden motives, and untold schemes. Stick around as we uncover stories of regret, revenge, and the unpredictable twists that can only exist in the world of gang leaders. Don't miss out. This is one episode you won't want to skip. Don't miss the dramatic and unexpected reactions that will definitely make you think. Do you think these gang leaders will try to turn the tables, or will they completely surrender to their fate? Do you believe that power and influence can change everything with just one court decision? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support us. We're always excited to bring you more thrilling and surprising stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Janaiki Martinez Estrella, who faced murder charges in New York City on the night of June 20th, 2018, was one of the 5 men responsible for the brutal killing of 15-year-old Leandro Guzman Feliz. Estrella, along with Manuel Rivera, Elvin Garcia, Jose Munz, and Antonio Santiago, were members of the violent Dominican gang known as the Trinitarios. According to reports, Leandro had gone to visit a new friend just a few blocks away from his apartment in the Bronx when 4 cars pulled up. These vehicles mistakenly identified him as a rival gang member. The gang members began chasing Leandro and eventually cornered him. Surveillance footage from a bodega, showing the inside of the store, reveals Leandro desperately trying to hide, attempting to take shelter behind the counter. However, he was soon spotted by one of the gang members, leading to his tragic fate. A violent altercation ensued, and Leandro was dragged out of the store. What happened next shocked the entire city of New York. Armed with large knives and machetes, the 5 men took turns brutally stabbing the teenager. After the attack, they fled the scene in getaway cars. Severely injured, Leandro tried to enter the store for help but was forced out and quickly disappeared. He gestured for witnesses to call 911. Despite his desperate attempts, he started running towards St. Barnabas Hospital, just a short distance away, before collapsing at the entrance. Passers-by desperately tried to save him, but 2 police officers were merely standing by, watching the scene unfold. They were later investigated for failing to assist. Just 20 minutes later, Leandro died from the fatal stab wounds to his neck. The police quickly obtained CCTV footage from the area, leading to the arrest of the 5 suspects. The suspects were charged with first-degree murder and brought to trial for their actions. Trinitarios gang member Kevin Alvarez testified against the 5 killers. Alvarez, who had been arrested and was testifying in court against the 5 alleged Trinitarios gang members, had helped drag Leandro out of the store. In exchange for a reduced sentence for conspiracy charges, Alvarez identified the suspects involved in the brutal murder. Ultimately, the jury convicted the 5 gang members for the horrific killing of Leandro Guzman Feliz. At the sentencing hearing, the killers showed no remorse. Instead, they waved gang symbols and shouted gang slogans, further demonstrating their lack of accountability. Yannick Estrella, who delivered the fatal blow, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jose Munz, Elvin Garcia, and Antonio Santiago each received 25 years to life, while Manuel Rivera was sentenced to 23 years to life. Leandro Guzman Feliz tragically lost his life simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, a victim of senseless violence. XXXTentacion, a famous rapper known by his stage name Yase Dwayne Onfroy, was tragically killed during a robbery in Florida on June 18, 2018. The 20-year-old rapper was out buying a motorcycle with his uncle Leonard Kerr. Earlier that day, Onfroy had withdrawn approximately $50,000 from the bank for the purchase. Unbeknownst to him, he was being followed by 4 men: Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Noem, Dedrick Williams, and Robert Allen. Allen even followed Onfroy into the dealership to confirm his identity. Later, when Onfroy left the store, his vehicle was blocked by a black SUV. Armed and masked, Boatwright and Noem stepped out of the SUV and confronted XXXTentacion at gunpoint. A struggle ensued, and both men shot the rapper dead before snatching his money bag and fleeing the scene. A bystander filmed immediately after the attack and called 911. Another individual was arrested beside XXXTentacion's lifeless body in his BMW. The tragic incident sent shockwaves through the hip-hop industry, with prominent artists like Diplo and J. Cole paying tribute to the teen phenomenon. Shortly after, the 4 men were arrested and charged with first-degree murder and armed robbery. Robert Allen struck a plea deal in exchange for his testimony during the trial of the others. The prosecution stated that the murder of XXXTentacion was premeditated and carried out with precision. During the trial, one of the suspect's lawyers controversially accused Grammy-winning rapper Drake of being responsible for XXXTentacion's death, suggesting that a feud between the two could have been a contributing factor. However, there was no credible evidence to support this claim, and it was widely dismissed. Despite this, the case remained one of the most talked-about tragedies in the world of hip-hop. He claimed that before his death, XXXTentacion had posted on social media, saying that if anyone were to kill him, it would be Drake. Trayvon Noem's lawyer argued that there was no physical evidence linking his client to the crime. However, the prosecution presented a series of crucial pieces of evidence in court, including CCTV footage from the crime scene. 3 key pieces of evidence were introduced during the trial. First, the testimony of XXXTentacion's step-uncle Leonard Kerr, who described what truly happened that day. Kerr reenacted the moment when XXXTentacion was shot, providing critical insight into the sequence of events. The second important piece of evidence was photos and videos recorded on the day of the shooting, showing the defendants posing and dancing with the stolen money. In one of the videos, Williams Fanning was seen holding $100 bills and being surrounded by cash, laughing and celebrating. The video, taken at 12:35 a.m., also appeared to show Williams in a car, further linking him to the crime scene shortly after the attack. These pieces of evidence were crucial in building the prosecution's case and tying the suspects directly to the murder and robbery of XXXTentacion. Fanning $100 bills, smiling and singing, Williams appeared to celebrate the robbery. Ultimately, Robert Allen's testimony sealed the deal when he confirmed that he had taken the money bag. When it came to the gunshots that were fired, it was Michael Boatwright and Allen who pulled the trigger. Allen testified that Noem took the money bag, Boatwright was the one who shot XXXTentacion, and Williams was the getaway driver, sitting in the car during the crime. It came as no surprise that all 3, Boatwright, Noem, and Williams, were convicted on all charges and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Michael Boatwright received an additional 30 years on top of his life sentence for being the one to pull the trigger. As for Robert Allen, his plea deal meant a reduced sentence of 7 years in prison, followed by 20 years of probation for second-degree murder. Meanwhile, Boatwright's life sentence could be shortened due to the plea agreements in place, potentially allowing for early release with the help of financial incentives or other legal avenues. The case remains a chilling reminder of the violent crime but what happens when a botched robbery turns deadly, as in the case of Michael Gargiulo, who is facing murder charges in Wisconsin. Reports indicate that in 2011, Gargiulo, 16 years old, was driving a stolen pickup truck with Malik Merchant and Jimmy Scales. The trio stopped on West Lisbon Avenue and attempted to rob Sharon Staples. Gargiulo allegedly jumped out of the truck and threatened Sharon to hand over her purse. However, when the 34-year-old woman resisted, Gargiulo shot and killed her. Tragically, Sharon was 12 weeks pregnant at the time. When Gargiulo was arrested, He confessed to 2 counts of first-degree manslaughter for killing both Sharon and her unborn child. The case highlighted the tragic consequences of a robbery gone horribly wrong, resulting in the loss of 2 lives, including that of an unborn child, and forever altering the lives of the victim's family. At the sentencing, Thomas was initially calm and silent, but suddenly, chaos erupted. As he was about to leave the courtroom, Gargiulo looked toward his family and attempted to move toward them, which led to court deputies tackling him to the ground. This sparked an outburst among those seated in the courtroom, with many visibly upset. The deputies struggled to lift him back up and regain control of the situation. "Stop! I order you to sit down," one deputy commanded. Despite their efforts, Gargiulo was difficult to subdue, and the tension in the courtroom continued to rise. Eventually, he was restrained and escorted out of the courtroom. A sheriff stepped in to take control of the situation and calm the angry family members. "Please, don't. Nothing good will come of this if this court is disrupted. Right?" he said, trying to restore order and prevent further chaos. The emotional scene underscored the deep pain and anger surrounding the tragic loss of Sharon and her unborn child. Police reported that in 2012, Spencer, 19 years old, was involved in a shooting at a Halloween party on the University of Southern California, USC campus. He was convicted of shooting a rival gang member at the party, which left 4 people injured. Some students ran to the scene, while others hid in fear. Reports indicate that Spencer also fled the scene but was eventually apprehended by the LAPD. He was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder. The prosecution argued that Spencer, as a gang member, fired into the crowd to retaliate against a member of a rival gang. If you're so determined to kill someone that you're willing to shoot them and simultaneously fire into a crowd, the prosecutor argued, emphasizing the reckless and violent nature of Spencer's actions. However, Spencer maintained his innocence throughout the trial, denying that he was responsible for the shooting. The case highlighted the tragic consequences of gang violence and the innocent lives affected by such reckless behavior. "I'm sorry this happened to you, but I'm not a bad person. I made a mistake, but I'm not just some thug. She tried to betray me," Spencer said during his trial. However, the jury rejected his defense and convicted Spencer on all charges. When the judge read his fate, Spencer completely lost control. His sentence was 15 years plus 25 years to life under Section 120 of the Penal Code. Section 2253. Spencer collapsed, slamming his head into the table twice before being restrained by officers. His emotional outburst reflected the overwhelming weight of his actions and their consequences. In the end, Spencer was sentenced to 40 years to life for the shooting at USC. As Brandon Spencer broke down in court, we can draw a comparison to the case that shocked the nation, like the case of David Parga, who was being tried for the murder of a student in California in 2006. Both cases highlight the devastating impact of violence, the chaos that erupts in the aftermath, and the lives forever altered by moments of reckless decisions. While David Parga was a lower-ranking gang member, what happens when the leader of a motorcycle gang is arrested? As in the case of Joseph Lancia, who is facing charges of attempted murder in Rhode Island. Lancia, 30, was the leader of the Hells Angels motorcycle gang in Rhode Island when he fired shots at a truck driven by Richard Starnino. Starnino had been considered a strong candidate to join the Hells Angels and had been involved in an ongoing dispute with Lancia. Authorities reported that no one was injured in the incident, but the situation could have been much worse. The bullet struck the passenger side of the truck, and it's crucial to note that children were in the area at the time, as well as a school across the street. The location where the shooting occurred was indeed startling, raising serious concerns about the recklessness of the attack and its potential for a far more devastating outcome. Lancia's position as a gang leader added another layer of gravity to the situation, showing how violent disputes can escalate dangerously when high-ranking figures in criminal organizations are involved. Starnino not only survived the attack but also continued driving and completed his delivery afterward. His resilience, however, didn't stop the authorities from taking swift action. A major raid was conducted at the Hells Angels headquarters. Anyone inside Route 161, this is the state police, get out here with your hands up right now, an officer commanded. Several gang members were arrested and detained, and Lancha was taken into custody. However, as part of a plea deal, more serious charges of attempted murder were dropped. Lancha did not contest the charges of assault and felony battery. Joseph Lancha, 30, changed his plea from not guilty to no contest during sentencing. His decision to switch his plea came as a surprise, with several members of the Hells Angels showing up in full support of their president. Lancha's case highlights the intense loyalty and support within gang structures, even in the face of serious legal repercussions. Despite the plea deal, the incident sent a strong message about the dangers of gang violence and the lengths to which authorities will go to dismantle such criminal organizations. In the case of Christopher Dean, a 33-year-old drug dealer from Atlanta, he wanted to leave the world of crime and make one final drug deal before cleaning up his life. Dean made an agreement with Xavier Gibson, a member of the street gang Gangster Disciples, who knew that Dean had previously acted as an informant for the police and lured him to meet at Gibson's house on Sandy Creek Drive. What followed was a brutal and horrific ordeal. Over the span of an hour, Gibson and his associates mercilessly beat Dean with a crowbar and a 2x4 before raping him, torturing him, and ultimately executing him. The thugs then disposed of Dean's body at the Hamilton E. Holmes MARTA station. Police later discovered a man's body in the trunk of a car. The body was found in the back of the car, along with torture weapons. At Gibson's home, police uncovered a shocking scene, finding evidence that the suspects had continued living in the house, with Dean's blood spattered throughout the area. This gruesome crime highlighted the extreme violence associated with gang activities and the tragic fate of a man trying to escape a life of crime. The brutal treatment Dean endured before his death remains a haunting example of the dangers faced by those involved in criminal worlds and the deep betrayals that can emerge from the connections formed within them. This is Tarek Jackson, who is currently on trial for murder in Michigan. Jackson was just 16 years old when he was accused of pulling out a gun and firing during a gang altercation in Ypsilanti in 2015. The bullet struck the head of 20-year-old Keandre Duff, causing his immediate death. Now 18, Jackson faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder. Jackson appeared in court and ultimately pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. Emotions ran high during his sentencing. The victim's mother addressed Jackson directly, saying, "Our entire world has been turned upside down since that moment. Your actions have changed my life forever. You changed our lives forever when you took my son's life." Her emotional statement captured the profound grief and irreversible damage caused by Jackson's actions. This case serves as a painful reminder of the devastating consequences of violence and the deep, lasting impact on the families involved. But what was truly shocking was that, despite the tragedy, Keandre Duff's mother forgave the man who killed her son and showed remarkable sympathy towards him, calling him a young man with dreams. "By forgiving me, I forgive you, I don't hate you," she said, displaying an extraordinary level of compassion. Then, they handed her a photo of Jackson, and as she looked at it, she said, "My God, this is someone's child. This is a man who was a young man with dreams of becoming more than what he has become." She also expressed concern for Jackson's mother, praying for her strength in the face of the situation. In a deeply emotional moment, the two mothers embraced each other in the courtroom, sharing a powerful connection rooted in grief and empathy. Jackson was then given the opportunity to speak in court, where he expressed his remorse to the victim's family. First, I just want to say sorry to the victim's family. His apology, though heartfelt, could not undo the pain caused by his actions, but it was a moment of vulnerability and acknowledgement of the tragic consequences of his choices. I wish things had turned out differently. I never thought my choices and decisions would impact so many people like this. You know, no mother should ever have to bury her son, and no mother should ever have to witness her son change, Jackson said. In a moment of reflection, he acknowledged the profound pain his actions had caused, not only to the victim's family but also to his own. He explained how he became involved in gang activities at a young age and took full responsibility for his crime. I was 16 at the time of the incident. I was young, angry, out on the streets, involved with gangs and all sorts of other things. I thought it was the best choice for me. But today, I don't think that was the best choice. But I take full responsibility for my actions, and I'm ready to face the consequences. His words spoke to the regret and recognition of the irreversible damage caused by the choices he made in his youth. While Jackson's apology could not erase the pain, it marked a moment of accountability as he expressed a willingness to face the consequences of his actions. He also warned other gang members to learn from his mistakes and change their ways of life. We're living in gangs, and a lot of things aren't worth 16 years or death because in the end, you put yourself in a situation, and there are serious consequences that come with it. His words served as a cautionary tale, urging others to avoid the same destructive path he had taken. Jackson then ended his statement with some words of encouragement for his family. To my family, I just want to say, don't cry at the funeral. My life is far from over. They can lock my body, but they can't lock my mind. It's going to be a long tunnel I have to walk through, but I will always focus on the light at the end. His message reflected resilience and hope, even as he faced the heavy consequences of his actions. In the end, Jackson was sentenced to 17 to 40 years in prison for the murder of Keandre Duff. While his youth and anger led to the tragic loss of a young life, his journey in the justice system is one of reflection, growth, and the painful acknowledgement of the irreversible impact of his choices. In the end, W.I. was killed after a gunfire exchange. W.I. had 3 accomplices in the car who were helping him escape from the police: Jorge Pagan, Torres Malia Lala, and Crystal Ferreira. Torres, Lala, and Ferreira were still in custody, and today, in court, the judge denied them bail. They were arrested and charged as accomplices in the intentional murder case. However, the prosecution could not prove those charges, and later, all 3 were convicted of lesser charges. In the end, Lala was sentenced to 6 years in prison, while Pagan, Torres, and Ferreira each received 1 year in prison. While Officer Bronson Kaloa tragically lost his life in the line of duty, the case raises another difficult question. What happens when an elderly, powerless woman is killed? This question underscores the broader complexities in criminal justice, where some lives, particularly those of vulnerable individuals, seem to be overlooked in the pursuit of justice for other crimes. It challenges society to reflect on how we value lives and seek justice for all victims, regardless of age, status, or power. David Moses, who was on trial for murder in California, was just 17 years old when he and 2 others allegedly broke into the home of Dorothy, an 81-year-old woman, with the intent to rob her. When Dorothy resisted, Moses brutally beat her to death. Moses admitted to investigators in an interview that he struck the woman, providing further evidence of his involvement in the crime. Police found Dorothy's body with multiple injuries, including a broken nose, missing teeth, and blackened eyes, highlighting the violent nature of the attack. Moses was arrested and, 2 years later, convicted of first-degree murder. When sentenced, Moses showed no remorse for his actions. He laughed and yawned throughout the trial, finding the entire situation boring. His behavior, giggling and nodding off in his seat at times, shocked the courtroom, revealing a disturbing lack of empathy or understanding of the gravity of his crime. This lack of remorse only added to the emotional weight of the case, leaving the victim's family and the public questioning the depths of Moses' character and the true impact of his actions. Prosecutors noted that Moses seemed to enjoy the trial, which led them to believe that he saw it as a game and showed no remorse for his actions. His behavior, including laughing and yawning throughout the proceedings, was unsettling to those in the courtroom and painted a troubling picture of his character. While Moses faced a lengthy prison sentence, his attorney requested that the judge offer him hope in the form of the possibility of parole, suggesting that 25 years down the line, Moses might have a chance to re-enter society. However, the judge rejected this request, finding it inappropriate given the nature of Moses' crime. He ultimately sentenced Moses to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Mr. Moses has received the punishment he deserves. Frankly, he is just a dangerous individual, and there is only one place for him, and that is prison for the rest of his life, the judge concluded. Since Moses was convicted as a minor, changes in the law meant that he was eligible for resentencing as an adult. Despite this potential for review, the severity of the crime and Moses' behavior throughout the trial left little hope for leniency in the future. His case serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of violent actions, particularly when there is a complete lack of remorse. Although there was a possibility of reducing his sentence from life imprisonment to 25 years, the judge emphasized that Moses had shown no signs of rehabilitation since his conviction, along with the brutality of his attack on Dorothy. Ultimately, the judge resentenced Moses to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. While David Moses had been sentenced to life twice for killing a helpless elderly woman, what happens when a murderer vows to kill more at trial? This raises an unsettling question about the future of those who show no remorse and have a history of violent behavior. If you found the story about David Moses and what happened during this trial truly shocking, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the life sentence Moses received? Do you believe denying him the possibility of parole was the right decision? Don't forget to hit like if you found this video helpful, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out on more compelling legal analyses in future videos. Ultimately, the judge resentenced Moses to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. While David Moses had been sentenced to life twice for killing an elderly, helpless woman, the case of Luis Bram presents a more chilling scenario, as he vowed to kill more during his trial. Mons is being tried for the murders of 2 police officers in California. According to reports from October 24, 2014, Bram Mons committed a violent act that led to the deaths of 2 sheriffs in Northern California. It all began in the parking lot of Motel 6, where Sacramento County Sheriff Danny Oliver was shot in the head while checking Bram Mons' vehicle. Afterward, Mons stole a car and fled to Pacer County, where he shot and killed Detective Michael Davis Jr. Bram Mons, an undocumented immigrant, was charged with the murders of Sacramento County Sheriff Danny Oliver and Pacer County Sheriff Mike Davis Jr. in a crime spree that included carjacking and other victims being shot in October 2014. This case exemplifies the dangerous escalation of violence and the chilling reality that some individuals will continue to perpetuate harm, showing no remorse or consideration for the consequences of their actions. A man had been tracking Bram Mons, and eventually he was apprehended. Although Bram Mons did not plead guilty, his actions in court showed the opposite. He displayed no remorse for his brutal crimes and even wished he had killed more people. During the trial, Bram Mons made a chilling statement, vowing to kill again once he escaped prison. "I don't want to allow myself to do it. Step out of the hallway. Regret it so much. I wish there were more mothers like that. I'll soon say goodbye, and I'll kill more," he said, further demonstrating his lack of remorse. However, what he did next shocked everyone in the courtroom. Instead of remaining silent, Mons openly admitted to killing 2 police officers. Even his own lawyer did not attempt to hide the truth. Bram Mones was held accountable for the deaths of both Deputy Danny Oliver and Detective Mike Davis. It came as no surprise when Bram Mones was convicted of first-degree murder, illegal and malicious, with premeditation. His response to the conviction was chilling, a smile and loud cheers. This cold and disturbing behavior underscored the extreme danger posed by Mones, as well as the overwhelming need for justice to be served in such cases. Victor Rodas, who is facing murder charges in Virginia, was involved in a brutal crime. According to reports from March 27, 2017, Rodas and 4 other members of the international MS-13 crime gang kidnapped and brutally murdered Raymond Wood. Police discovered the dismembered body of the 17-year-old teen in a forest, just 2 hours away from his home in Bedford County. The investigation revealed that Rodas had arranged a fake drug deal with Wood, which ultimately led to the victim being kidnapped. Wood was then strangled and stabbed 29 times. Rodas was charged with first-degree murder, robbery, and kidnapping. During the trial, the prosecutor argued that Rodas killed Wood as part of an initiation ritual to rise in the hierarchical system of MS-13, emphasizing the disturbing lengths to which gang members would go to prove their loyalty and advance in the criminal organization. The brutal nature of the crime underscored the violent and merciless tactics used by MS-13, leaving a community shaken and a family devastated by the loss of a young life. Raymond Wood had to die for many reasons. He had to die for MS-13. He had to die for the soldiers. He had to die for his reputation and rank in that vile organization, the prosecutor argued. This chilling statement underscored the brutal and calculated nature of the murder, driven by the gang's violent initiation rituals. The defense, however, argued that Rodas was merely the driver that day and had no involvement in the stabbing. He claimed that he didn't know what was happening and was simply told to get in the car and go along for the ride. The trial had reached an impasse, and it seemed like Rodas might escape conviction, until police accidentally found a key piece of evidence related to the murder weapon. Detective John Maddox testified that he noticed something unusual at the crime scene. "I decided that instead of walking through the tall grass, I would go straight through the woods to my car. I walked about 20 feet and looked down because there was a flash of light just enough to catch my attention. I looked down and saw a dragon head, a metal dragon head on the ground. This discovery proved pivotal in the case, as the dragon head was a part of the murder weapon, linking Rodas and his accomplices directly to the crime. The piece of evidence helped break the impasse, turning the tide in favor of the prosecution and ultimately leading to Rodas being held accountable for his involvement in the horrific murder. Noah Lep Hall, who is facing multiple charges, including murder, in Colorado, was involved in a crime that shocked the entire state in August 2021. Hall, along with Seth Load, Aiden Ben, Isaiah Freeman, and Samuel Fussell, were all between the ages of 18 and 21 and had previously been detained at a juvenile correctional facility in Golden, Colorado, where they met and are accused of planning the entire incident. The rampage began on August 15, 2021, when the 5 suspects broke into a business and severely vandalized the establishment. After the vandalism, they escalated the violence by brutally attacking a man who was trying to bring his ex-wife home after she had been diagnosed with cancer. The attack left the man severely injured and raised concerns about the growing violence among young people, particularly those with previous criminal backgrounds. This violent crime shocked the community, as the suspects, all of whom had been involved in the justice system before, unleashed chaos. Without remorse or apparent reason, further highlighting the risks posed by individuals who, despite opportunities for rehabilitation, continue down a destructive path. The most concerning part of the violent rampage committed by the group was the murder of an 18-year-old Jewish student, who was chased inside the yeshiva school before being shot multiple times. The massacre ended when 3 of the 5 individuals, including Noah Lep Hall, were arrested. Police later apprehended the remaining 2 suspects. 2.5 months later, authorities captured them and several accomplices at a house after a night of crime. 4 of the 5 individuals pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including assault and theft. Aiden Ben was sentenced to 41.5 years in prison, while Isaiah Freeman received a 30-year sentence. Samuel Fussell and Seth Load each received prison terms of 212 years and 12 years, respectively. As for Lep Hall, he also pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping, and was sentenced to a total of 65 years in prison. Meanwhile, Esichem Silverberg, who was the murderer of the 18-year-old student, showed no remorse for his actions, further shocking the public with his indifference to the brutal crime he committed. This case is a chilling reminder of how young individuals with violent tendencies can devastate communities, leaving a lasting impact on the victims and their families. Jeffrey Williams, better known by his stage name Young Thug, is facing extortion charges in Georgia. Williams is accused of being a founding member of the Young Slime Life YSL criminal gang, which has alleged ties to the Notorious Bloods gang. In May 2022, Williams was arrested and charged with gang-related offenses and violations of the RICO Act, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. In Georgia, however, this is not Williams' first encounter with the law. He was previously arrested in 2017 on drug-related charges after police found illegal firearms and drug money in his car. Currently on trial for the RICO charges, prosecutors have used Williams' own song lyrics as evidence, arguing that they implicate him in gang activities. The use of his lyrics in the trial highlights the growing trend of using an artist's creative expressions as evidence in criminal cases, raising questions about the intersection of art, freedom of expression, and the law. Williams' case has garnered significant media attention, particularly due to his fame and influence in the rap music scene, as well as the serious nature of the charges he faces. The outcome of this trial could have broader implications for how law enforcement and the justice system address the connection between gang activity and public figures in the entertainment industry. "I have never killed anyone, but I am involved in it," Young Thug said, acknowledging his connection to the gang. However, the defense quickly argued that the song lyrics were taken out of context, asserting that Williams simply wrote about street life in his studio, as many artists do. "These are lyrical verses, and if we are going to criminalize the lyrics, you will learn that we all need to be careful about what we say." The prosecution then presented a photo showing Williams making a blood gang sign, attempting to strengthen their case. However, the defense offered a different interpretation, suggesting that the photo was being misrepresented. "The prosecution is targeting this," they argued. "This is Jeffrey taking a selfie in front of a mirror, and he is raising his hand." The indictment that the prosecution asked the jury to return claims that he is holding a blood sign. This back and forth over the song lyrics and the photo reflects the central issue of the trial: the extent to which an artist's personal expressions, whether through music or images, should be used as evidence in criminal proceedings. The case continues to raise important questions about artistic freedom, the role of expression in legal contexts, and the potential for overreach in the criminal justice system. The trial of Williams was also marked by disruptions, delays, and tense moments, primarily involving Judge Urel, prosecutor Glenville Adrian Love, and defense attorney Brian Steele. "We don't always see eye to eye," Judge Urel said, acknowledging the tension that often arose between the parties. For instance, when the defense failed to follow his instructions, the judge had some harsh words for them. "You all aren't listening to the court, and that's going to get all of you in big trouble. You need to listen to me when I tell you something and not rely on your own understanding." This remark highlighted the frustrations the judge felt with the defense's approach during the trial. In another instance, Judge Urel had to teach defense attorney Brian Steele how to properly handle evidence in court. "Under the passenger seat on the floor of the car, right?" the judge said, reminding Steele of proper procedures. These moments added to the drama of the trial, showing the sometimes tense dynamics between the legal professionals involved and underscoring the complexity of the case at hand. The courtroom tensions illustrated just how contentious this high-profile trial had become. I need to teach you how to handle weapons. Please always keep the muzzle pointed down, regardless of whether it's loaded, all right? I know it's unloaded, but you really made people nervous, okay? Including Mr. Carse, whom you're pointing the gun at. Got it. Judge Glenville addressed the situation calmly but firmly, stressing the importance of safety and proper handling of evidence in the courtroom. However, his patience wore thin when the prosecutors began questioning him about the jury of his peers. Tensions within the jury continued to escalate as they couldn't agree on several issues in the case. "39 jurors can stay out of my work," Judge Glenville said, clearly frustrated. "I've been doing this for a long time. I've watched and I've done. Both sides can't speak at the same time." His words reflected the growing difficulty of managing a tense and heated courtroom atmosphere. After both sides continued to argue heatedly, the judge had enough. He ordered the attorneys to tone it down a bit to ensure that the trial proceeded fairly and orderly, demonstrating the immense pressure on the judge to maintain control over the proceedings and avoid further disruptions in this high-profile case. Judge Glenville was clearly unimpressed with the defense attorney's delay tactics, expressing his frustration openly in the courtroom. "You keep engaging in this type of behavior. You don't want to accept my ruling. I know you're a defense attorney, but at some point, just stop. Stop, I've made my ruling, good or bad. I will accept it. You'll win some cases, you'll lose some, I accept that." His words were a direct rebuke to the defense's attempts to delay or challenge his decisions, emphasizing the importance of respecting the court's rulings. The defense, feeling the pressure of the constant interruptions, also grew tired of the ongoing delays. "Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting the state earlier, but could the state clarify that this ongoing delay must stop so the opposing counsel can speak? This needs to stop at some point, Your Honor. Thank you." The defense's plea further highlighted the tensions and frustrations mounting during the trial. Judge Glenville then appeared, disappointed with the delay tactics used by the defense team, signaling that the trial's pace needed to improve for it to continue smoothly. His disappointment underscored the seriousness of maintaining order and efficiency in such a high-profile case. "You continue to delay and drag things out, pushing back our specific opportunities to present a seamless case to the jury. Can you imagine my frustration? These small delays are just extending our entire presentation before the jury. This is for your benefit, not mine," Williams' attorney, Brian Steele, said, clearly displeased with the situation and demanding an apology from the judge. "Your Honor, I know it has to be in writing within 5 days if you want me to do that. I will do it and I will have to see another judge. But this is what's happening, Your Honor. Whether you see it or not, you're yelling at me in front of the jury for no reason. And then you won't apologize, and I haven't done anything wrong." Steele's frustration boiled over as he confronted the judge, feeling that the courtroom tensions were unfairly being directed at him. This exchange further added to the already tense atmosphere in the trial, as the defense attorney's plea for fairness was met with a stern and unyielding approach from the judge. The argument underscored the ongoing struggle for control and order in the courtroom, with both sides becoming increasingly agitated as the trial continued. Tensions escalated when Judge Glenville expressed frustration with the timing of some evidence the prosecutors wished to present. "I'm not doing this anymore. I just won't. We're starting right now at 1:20, we've spoken to them, we've said we disagree. Then file a motion and bring it before me, and we'll deal with both of you. You're both equally responsible for getting that information done." The judge's statement reflected his impatience with the delays and the complications in the trial process. In response, defense attorney Brian Steele accused the judge of improperly influencing the jury and strongly challenged his remarks. "My position is completely straightforward with the court. I took it as a complete mistake because I don't know why, but it's not right, Your Honor. And that is a false statement and a mischaracterization of what you're telling me that I made a decision at that time." Steele's outburst revealed his frustration and defense of his actions, trying to clarify his position and rebuff what he saw as an unfair characterization by the judge. This heated exchange added to the already tense atmosphere in the courtroom, with both parties increasingly clashing over procedural issues, and the judge attempting to maintain order amidst growing conflicts. It's all just a definite conclusion, isn't it, Your Honor? That's not how this court views its role as a gatekeeper and its role as an arbitrator, Brian Steele said, openly criticizing the judge's handling of the situation. His words echoed the growing frustration within the courtroom. Judge Glenville, unfazed by the criticism, responded firmly. "I understand that you're offended," the judge began. "I'm offended because what you're saying is not correct with what you've been given. I'll tell you this because there's never been a time in this trial that you've instructed the jury before you found an expert to say that this person will give expert testimony and the testimony of an outsider. Did you object at that point, Your Honor?" The tension in the courtroom escalated as the judge continued to challenge Steele's objections. "I believe you did object at that point, right?" This exchange highlighted the mounting conflict between the defense and the judge, further intensifying the already fraught atmosphere in the courtroom. The judge hasn't qualified as an expert yet. I don't think you should be reading that guideline right now. It would be frivolous to say, but you didn't object. Even so, you didn't object, did you? Judge Glenville continued, clearly growing frustrated. If that's not all the defense, then call out Prosecutor Adrian, who lied in front of the judge. But you didn't do that by standing 3 feet in front of you and lying to the court, and that's what she did. She knew what she was doing, and that's not right. The judge's words became more heated, reflecting the escalating tension between the defense and the prosecution. The trial also contained some bizarre and dramatic moments that shocked everyone present. One of the most notable incidents was when someone from the gallery handed Williams a bag of drugs right in front of dozens of court officials, a move that stunned everyone in the room. In another strange turn, a juror got into trouble for recording the proceedings in the courtroom, adding further chaos to an already intense trial. These incidents only deepened the intrigue and drama surrounding the case, leaving both the legal professionals and the public on edge. Do you remember that this court gave you those disgusting warnings about acceptable behavior regarding turning off your phones? The judge asked, clearly frustrated. Yes, when we walked in, didn't I tell you to turn off your phones? I'll be honest and very truthful, when so many things are going on, we just came from somewhere else. Answer my question first and then you can explain. Do you remember us doing that? The judge's patience was wearing thin, and his tone reflected the growing tension in the courtroom over issues of courtroom decorum. And another odd turn. A juror had gone on a break instead of fulfilling her duty, and she was dismissed with a peculiar punishment. A 30-page essay on the importance of jury duty. "Ma'am, I see you're being disrespectful, but here's what I'm going to do. What I think I'll do is let you satisfy your disrespect. I'll reduce it by 20 days and require you to write a 30-page essay on the importance of jury duty." The judge's unique approach to the situation added a surreal element to the already chaotic trial, further highlighting the tension and unusual events unfolding within the courtroom. "Unbelievable," the judge remarked as a third juror was dismissed for contempt after he inquired with the media about the trial. "Why did you think this would be okay when you asked about it?" "That was a foolish mistake on my part. I mean, that tells me you heard it in the media, or what I told you was not to be done." His actions were met with a bizarre punishment. He was ordered to serve 10 hours of community service. "When we selected the jury for this case, you will come in the first 5 days of the trial," the judge ordered, adding to the already tense and unusual atmosphere. The courtroom was also subjected to a cyber attack, where all the screens were bombarded with explicit Zoom calls, much to the amusement of everyone present. "It seems they got hit with a Zoom bomb," the judge commented dryly, offering a brief moment of levity amidst the chaos. This incident only added to the string of strange and dramatic moments that had characterized the trial, leaving everyone wondering what could possibly happen next in this high-stakes legal battle. This appeared on everyone's screens in the courtroom and lasted for a few seconds before the judge quickly intervened. "You know, we've been hacked," the judge said, calmly instructing the deputies to turn off all the TVs, bringing an unexpected moment of chaos to a halt. The courtroom, already under intense scrutiny, had now become the subject of a cyber attack, further adding to the drama of the trial. The trial also saw some suspicious witnesses, with one of them becoming enraged during cross-examination. "I really don't understand what's going on. I don't remember my head hurting. They just keep asking," the witness said, visibly agitated. "I'm curious about this. They keep asking me about it. By 2013, I don't remember him saying his phone number had been made public, and he and his family were being harassed. People are calling me right now, threatening me, texting my phone. I haven't been able to sleep, staying up all night from 7 o'clock last night to 6 o'clock this morning. Still getting calls, still getting texts." The witness's outburst raised eyebrows, revealing a level of stress and confusion, and adding a layer of complexity to the already tense proceedings. The disruption of the courtroom, combined with this outburst, illustrated just how volatile and unpredictable the trial had become, with both legal and emotional pressure mounting on all involved. He then made the most shocking revelation. "Can I get some water? Something, I'm too high, you guys. I'm about to fall asleep." The witness's admission stunned everyone in the courtroom, adding a surreal layer to the already chaotic proceedings. His statement raised serious questions about his ability to testify coherently and the integrity of his testimony. There was also a witness who seemed to have been coerced into testifying in court. When he testified the previous day, he was clearly reluctant to be there. "It's true she made allegations about being harassed by the district attorney's office, and part of that was due to the interactions and reactions from you yesterday. Based on the interactions you had, not with Mr. Williams or anyone here, but with the district attorney's office. Isn't that correct?" the prosecutor asked, attempting to clarify the situation. "It's true you told us when you came back that they had cited harassment from you for several months. Is that correct?" Judge Glenville, having dealt with numerous disruptions throughout the trial, finally grew tired of the delays and chaos. His patience was clearly running thin as he attempted to regain control of the courtroom. The constant interruptions and problematic witnesses highlighted the mounting challenges of managing the trial, with every new development adding complexity to an already volatile legal battle. "I mean, we have time this morning. I could have looked into that this morning and clarified the issue for both sides," the judge said, expressing his frustration over the delays. He continued, "If necessary, I will hold court over the weekend to make up for lost time. If needed, we will start the trial on Saturday and Sunday. Yes, that's my decision, so if you don't want the trial to continue on Saturday and Sunday, it's already a problem. I think we need to work a little harder to be able to say that the trial is still ongoing." In this situation, the judge's decision to extend the trial into the weekend raises an important question. Is it reasonable for the trial to continue over the weekend to make up for lost time? Is it fair for the judge to ask everyone to work extra hours to avoid further delays? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support us. Your feedback helps us bring you more in-depth discussions and legal analyses.